We're with Coach Cam Abbott. Cam, this is a young team. We've discussed a little bit about that already, but you have a knack in the past, and you can maybe name some of the guys in Sweden that you have coached that were young guys that are now in the National Hockey League. And what do you expect, or how do you try to communicate with young guys, obviously coming out of junior or college, or some Europeans maybe even, to get them to believe in themselves and to compete the way you want them to?
Good question. First, I feel like the American Hockey League is a very, very good hockey league, and it's difficult to play in. There's also a whole lot of other teams that are in similar spots that have a lot of prospects in there. Maybe not quite as many at the same time, but to use any excuse towards being young for me is just an unacceptable off-ramp towards mediocrity. I feel like each one of these young guys that's in our group can play in the AHL and is a professional hockey player that has ambitions to play here and at a higher level, and they're willing to put the time and effort in to improve and to do what it takes to be helpful for the Chicago Wolves to have success, including growing themselves and finding that growth. So having young players is something I embrace. I think it all comes down to what are they willing to do to make up for that lack of experience. They can do so with their hunger and their ambition to outwork an opponent, for instance, or to get better so that maybe something's a little bit off in the first month or two, but by Christmas time, they've climbed over top of an equivalent 27 or 28-year-old potentially. The other side is, guys get complacent. So that 28-year-old that looks nice and glossy on paper, perhaps, or 30-year-old or whatever, perhaps that player is his best years have come on the stat sheet in front of you, and they're in the past. So you can't be overlooking the possibility of the unknowns, and young players offer a lot of unknowns. The other side is working with young guys. The drive that they have, you can always relate back to that. To be better is fun to have in the group, and the energy that brings to everybody. Marco Kasper is a great example with the Detroit Red Wings. Came to join us in Sweden at 15 years old, I think, with the junior team. Played his first pro game at 16. I had to ask my twin brother if I could get in trouble because he still had a cage on. He was just 16 years old and he was playing, in the Champions Hockey League. And here he is, starting the other night for the Red Wings, or Adam Edstrom in New York Rangers with Hartford's organization as well, and Mort Seider playing with the Wings, and Nils Höglander with Vancouver. And I tell you, these guys didn't take any shortcuts in their development to get to where they're at. And they're not just in the NHL for a cup of coffee. They're there because they put the time in for their skill sets, and they're going to be helpful for those teams. And so that's something I look towards for this organization as well. We can benefit from these young players developing and getting better. And to do so, we need to offer them that opportunity for coaching, for leadership. I mean, you mentioned Dan and Spiros. Those guys have so many great opportunities, as well as myself, to impact and help these guys on their growth, on their journey. So.
Is there a time, and obviously it's young in the year, and some of these guys, over a period of time, you'll get to see what they're made of, but the guys you mentioned that are playing now in the National Hockey League, was there a time when you could see and really had a gut feeling that they potentially were going to be able to go play in the National Hockey League? And do you see that? I'm not going to pinpoint anybody that's on the team now, but can you see that maybe down the road that will be the case with some of these guys?
Absolutely. And to answer your question, I think each one of them, those four gentlemen I mentioned earlier, had at least one or two qualities where they were elite in their area, both at a level that we played at in the top league in Sweden, as well as coming over to North America. And so they weren't finished products, but they had those elite qualities that helped them be attractive towards the end. We have a lot of those guys in our group. They're definitely not finished products, and they might not even be impactful AHL players on the stat sheet in the short term, but they're in this organization, in this team for a reason, and there's qualities that will start to shine through. And we just saw one home game the other night and a couple road games, and we're on the way now, and you'll see a lot more of some of these quote-unquote rookies. I like to think of them as first-year veterans.
Love the insight. Great stuff. We'll be back with more Wolves hockey after this.